episode 12 of Inside the Lair, joined here by former BMCC basketball player from the 2012-13 season and 13-14 season, Michael Hussein. He was also a 3-year assistant, part of 2 straight CUNY titles. So many players that we've brought on this segment have spoken so highly of you, Michael. You are such an accomplished assistant coach, a big name around the basketball community, and we are lucky to have you here on vacation in Florida. Thank you for taking some time to join us.
Thank you for having me. You know, I've been watching a few of these episodes, and it's definitely an honor because BMCC definitely has a special place in my heart.
So let's get right into it here, Mike. In all 11 episodes, you're now episode 12, about why certain athletes attended BMCC. Numerous factors have been given to me. Why did you decide to attend the Borough of Manhattan Community College?
Well, I mean, as a player, I didn't really have much of a choice, so because I got cut my senior year in high school, so I didn't really have any looks. So it was really all about working out. You know, I ended up meeting Jerry Mosley, who happens to be my mentor to this day, you know, and he helped build up my skill. I kept bouncing around from different junior colleges, and my dad was just upset. So he was just like, you know what? I don't feel like driving back and forth upstate. You're going to go to BMCC. I work right across the street. It's perfect. I'm like, man, all right. So then I just applied. I had Jerry hit up the coach, and I just walked on. At the time, it was Coach Kerr. I really had to work, but it was definitely worth it. So I didn't have a choice, but it was definitely a great decision.
And also, I wanted to kind of elaborate on the point. Did it help you academically? Because another thing about BMCC, one experience, John Ramos, who you had a chance to be an assistant with, said he really saw his academic potential. He made the dean's list, Coach Ramos, and he thought that was a bad thing, and yet it was a great thing. So, I mean, off the court, it had to provide you with a lot of confidence as well.
Definitely. I ended up making a dean's list for like 3 or 4 straight semesters. So I definitely saw a total just difference, you know, because in high school, I barely hit freaking 70. You know, I was barely making it. And then when I got to BMCC, I was at a 3.5 or 3.6. And I really credit all the professors that were there because they definitely grabbed my attention more than I ever really could, you know, ever imagine.
Here on episode 12 of Inside the Lair with 3-year assistant coach and former BMCC men's basketball player Mike Hussein from 2012-2013 to 2013-2014. So now let's talk about the basketball court. You obviously told me you walked on, but if there's one thing I saw, you know, as an assistant, you were part of 41 combined wins in 2 seasons. But as a player, you know, just 19 wins in 2 seasons. But the record doesn't matter when you really look at the research because you play with a lot of great players. And let's look at 2 positions. I'm going to start with the first. You played with some outstanding guards during your time there. You played with Joseph Oho, who eventually became a CUNY All-Star, part of that 27-win team. We'll get into that in a sec. Tournament MVP, you know, All-Region 15 honorable mention, top 5 in both points and assists, 178 career assists, 652 career points, also top 20 in steals and career assists. Justin Mannion, who was huge during the upset of the Bronx in those semifinals to get BMCC to the regional final. Really, they hadn't been there in a long time. Christian Best, Brandon Harriet, Tashawn Jenkins, another guy that you were with your first season there. What was it like to play with guys like that? How did they set the tone?
I mean, I'll definitely start with Ty and Chris Best because that was my first year. It was definitely humbling because I came to BMCC thinking it's just some 2-year CUNY school. These guys ain't going to be all that. I'm going to be able to start and do all this. Probably around the first workout, Christian Best put me to work, you know, like just easily. You know, he was so tough to guard. And Ty would, as a player, he would break you down while telling you. You know, so you really got to be tough physically and mentally, you know, playing against Ty. So I definitely developed a certain level of toughness that I never had as a player, just playing with those 2, just because I had to get beat up a little bit in practice, you know. But the positive thing behind that was that they always told me what I did wrong, what could I improve on. Those 2 guys are definitely my brothers for life. And Ojo, Ojo, that's my guy from Staten before BMCC days. When he came in, I sort of felt like I had to be like Ty, and Chris, and really help him out, help him maneuver through the college game, the whole transitioning of it, how to slow down sometimes, because Ojo's a fast player, but in the first year he was always super fast, so we definitely worked on that, and we still close, we're still close to this day. And definitely B for my first year. He would shoot the lights out. And my second year, I played 2 years of B, so it was really fun when you could just toss the ball wherever behind the 3-point line, and he's putting it up, and that's dropping. That's something that not many people can have. One of my favorite players to really play with is Hakeem, because at any given moment, if I get blown by on defense, I'm not worried, because he's probably gonna punch that shot. I'm gonna get that ball, and we running down the floor. So he definitely saved us a lot on defense whenever we got beat one-on-one. So I definitely, I enjoy playing with all those guys. I learned something from everybody. So it was definitely a pleasure.
Joseph Ojo, where do you improve as a guard, at least from a standpoint of slowing it down and having the game come to him? He's fourth all-time in assists with 178 for his career. We know fast players can score, so he's fifth in points for the career program history, 652. But for 178 assists, yes, you can go fast, but sometimes the players on the other end of that assist aren't going to handle it. But to make that go through, you got to slow down.
Well, really, one of the things I told Ojo was that, when you move slow, it's fast to everybody else. That's how fast you are. So don't worry about not getting past anybody. Take some big steps, and you'll be good. And as soon as he started doing that, he just started seeing the floor so much more, to the point where he could score whenever he wanted to now. Now he knew, all right, I'm cold, or Brandon's cold, so I need to feed him. So I'm going to drive to the basket easily, dish it out, and then now we got everybody flowing. So he definitely learned as the time went on. And he learned from experience, because he's a smart player. He's a smart dude. So he learned from trial and error. And Coach Adams at the time, too, he helped a lot. Coach Adams was always in our ear, every day. And I only had Coach Adams for 1 year, unfortunately, but he definitely helped us out a lot with that.
Here on episode 12 of Inside the Lair with former BMCC men's basketball player Mike Hussein, also a 3-year assistant. He played in 2012, 2013, 2014, and obviously 2 of those 3 years as an assistant won back-to-back conference titles. So your final season, you mentioned him already, and Hakeem Williams. He was part of that big 3 the following season in 2014, 2015, 27 wins put up. First time since 20 wins before you really were an assistant there. And obviously he joined Jericho Charisma and Kenneth Court, but Hakeem Williams also made his name. Okay, third at all-time career rebounds with 545, second all-time with 134 career blocks. So let's talk about him, and I'll mention another forward. Yeah, you said he bailed you out when you guys fell asleep on defense. Well, if you're second with 134 career blocks, helps to have a big guy who can swat it.
Nah, yeah, definitely. Like I said, whenever there was like a man-to-man situation, or definitely on closeouts, I know that I could close out as hard as possible, knowing that, all right, if he gets past me, I got Ak right there behind me ready to swat his shot, and Ak is going to tell him too. And he's probably going to laugh. Hakeem was that type of dude. He's running down all the way down the middle of the floor, and then he's going to trail. All you got to do is feed him, and he's just going to try to punch it. The first year, he wasn't dunking as much as I wanted him to, But the second year, of course, when I leave, he wants to dunk on everybody and do all these, special things. But, teach his own. But, he was definitely a special player to play with, because, I definitely did what I could, to feed him in the post when he was fresh, because Coach Adams brought him in one day, and, he just started doing his thing in practice, dunking on everybody, punching everybody's shot. So I know he was capable of being someone special on the floor. So I did what I could, because, Coach Adams named me the captain, so I took that with pride. So, I did what I could.
Here with Mike Hussein, former BMCC basketball player in 2012, 2013, and 2014, here on Inside the Lair, episode 12. So you mentioned Hakeem Williams to me. Your first season, 2012, 2013, another premier forward you got to play with was Valan D. Jambelik. Now, of course, you probably got a chance to watch him play. 16 double-doubles in 25 games that season. And he's also in the top 10 in program history in scoring, ninth with 549 career points. Yeah, I know obviously health was an issue your first season there at BMCC, but this guy had to be a joy to watch, to play with and practice with. And what else did he teach you going into your sophomore year?
He was another person that I definitely forgot to mention. He definitely brought a toughness, to my game too, from a different standpoint. Because now, once I get past the guard, now I got to deal with alone. He was like 6'6", and he has some strength to him. So I never really went up against a big man like that. And who knew that he was a big man? Some guys, they don't know, how to use their body right. And he knew, he knew where to be, how long his arms were, and he could easily catch a block wherever. Even watching him on, in certain games where we could be in trouble and Coach Kerr could just call a play and give it to V on the block and he's getting a play and it's an and-one. He was one of the best players I've seen at the post. Probably outside of Victor, it'll be tough, but V was a monster in the post for sure.
Here with Mike Hussein here at Inside the Lair, episode 12, 3-year assistant coach and of course former BMCC player, 2012, 2013. In 2013, 2014. It's colder here in New York, but he's in Florida. Pleasure to have him joining us here during his vacation.
Yes. It's a pleasure to be on.
BMCC is done, and you get a chance to come back. You get as an assistant. You have 3 years, obviously, as an assistant there. A lot of fun. Your first year, the team got off to a really good start. They won 6 of their first 7. You had a team just about around 500. You had some talented players, but you, again, have a pretty darn good assistant coaching career. I mean, you've got a chance to coach 2 All-Americans, one of which was your first season in Terrell Fullerton, CUNY All-Stars, and then obviously a back-to-back one in Victor Kovacevic, CUNY Player of the Year, back-to-back. When I was speaking with Anthony McLean, I mentioned that season because obviously, 20-win seasons, your next 2 years there as an assistant. And he said really, everyone was trying to mesh together. What did you get out of that first season?
I got exactly that because, it was a mesh thing for myself too because I came in, I believe, a week before the season started. So I didn't really have much to even get to know the guys, So we, everybody had to get to know each other, really by each day, each practice, each game. Because we had there was a new coach as well too in Coach G. Coach G had came in for Coach Adams. So so it was a transition, but we started off well. But then after, guys went into some injuries, there was some other, things that just came up, we started to, suffer some serious losses. But at the time, working with guys like Ant, who was, really resilient, in practices and whatnot, and Terrell, who, in my opinion, was the best player in BMCC, that I've ever coached, in all honesty, just because how fast he learned. There was one time I showed him a really tough move before a game, that first year too, when he's a freshman and everything. I told him a move before the game, which is really tough. He worked on it, and then during the game, he busts the move out, hits a 3, and then he looks at me like, "Coach, was that good?" I'm like, goodness, like he's just trying out just moves out there and he's just doing them, like, and it's working. Like, and I've never seen a player just do that, and really have that much freedom, in his game to want to just do that. So that was an experience just coaching him my first year because it definitely challenged me as a coach to want to do more because I can't just settle now when you have a player who learns that fast, and guys like Ant too, he was learning fast as well too. So I had to make sure I had to be sharp coming in every practice so they could be sharp, but it was definitely an adjustment year.
Well, the other thing Ann had told me was you really had settled how you were going to go into the next season. Mm-hmm. And very similar, and why I held it to your assistantship, the question's in 2 parts. You finished your career 2013, 2014. Joseph Oho, Hakeem Williams end up going to the next year to a team that wins 27 games, gets to the regional final, wins their first conference championship since 2007. A big 3, Kenneth Court joins the fray. Oh, God, that had to be tough down low. Anthony said when he went to 2017, 2018, an undefeated conference record with that team that year, 21 wins. He had said, we finished the first year saying to ourselves, we're going to really build a family environment. This team's going to go everywhere together. We're going to practice really hard. He talked about the brutal practices, just how hard everyone would go at each other. Was that some kind of way that you would set up with those freshmen as a sophomore going into the next year? Because it showed clearly that mentality was identical.
Yeah, I definitely took that approach because, coming up as a player myself, I really had no room for excuses. So I really had to get better by any means, whether that's traveling far, whether that's putting in an extra hour, whether that's only putting in a half hour, but I'm going my hardest the whole time. That's the mentality that I brought, to BMCC because, the guys were young as well too. They came from certain programs that maybe didn't preach that as much. But I know if I was going to be a coach around there, that wasn't going to happen. We were going to work as hard as we could, and be as open as we could. But that's one thing that I never wanted to do was limit any of the players. If you could be able to do certain things on the floor, then there's no limit. Nobody can really stop you. We definitely got at each other. At the end of the day, always explain to each other like we're family. At the end of this, we're family. We may talk something crazy during practice, and it may just happen. Emotions may flare. There's been times when guys were ready to fight, but at the end of the day, we were a family. We hugged it out, and we had players meetings, coaches meetings, where I would speak to the players and really talk about the game emotionally, and mentally, and figuring out how to really get through it because the pressure of getting a scholarship is there, because I knew as a player, I see it in them, where they may come into the game and they're a little too nervous because they want to get a scholarship or just one college to look at them. Just right there, that was a process. If you do the right things, the results will take care of themselves. As much as we want certain things to happen at our pace, it's just not always like that. And that's all right. As long as we take something from that and we just keep on working towards that. So that when it's your number, when it's your time to get called into that game, just know that we're all looking out for you. There's never been a time where a guy came into the game and guys wouldn't look to give that person the ball. We always wanted to make sure that everybody ate. And during those meetings, I used to really let these players know that, these coaches will always be around. They will always get looked at. I got my scholarship, not even from the season. I got my scholarship from a showcase after my second year. There's always a chance. There's always a way. So I always bring my own personal experience into that as well, too. Just understanding that, time will take care of itself.
Here with Mike Hussein, former BMCC men's player in 2012-13, 2013-2014, on episode 12 of Inside the Lair. Happy to have him here on vacation and taking some time from it in Florida. Now to that second year as an assistant. You had Anthony the season before. You come in and what a recruiting class you have. I mean, you can bring in Karan Dublin, program's all-time leading scorer, only 1,000-point scorer, back-to-back CUNY Player of the Year, and a slick guard who could shoot it from anywhere in Curtis Smith, a really good sixth man who doesn't really get talked about on this team because they just were so loaded. Alou Cisse comes in, and again, a lot of other players too. I mean, one that was really unheralded that happens to be in top 5 in program history in scoring is Victor Kovacevic, who really no one really wrote about. He lit it up his first year, back-to-back CUNY All-Star. Good role players in Raybon Fleming and Mark Morgan. And another shooter that just continues to get missed is Alex Humphreys, who was big for you in that title game the following season.
Oh, boy.
What was it like? I want to ask you this because, Coach Guerin, who you're with, was a really relentless recruiter, as were you, Coach Millard. How did you assemble such a talented squad like that? And how were you able to keep everyone like Anthony McLean so close, so competitive, with a team mentality of sharing, as you mentioned? Because some of those players played the following season.
Yeah, honestly, with that, I feel like the stars just, aligned for us because we were, doing whatever we could, for recruiting. A lot of those guys really contacted us, and because they didn't really have anybody looking at them. So we're like, all right, yeah, sure, why not? Come on down. Karan, he came through off the strength of Lawrence Todman because, they were best friends. And shoot, that's, again, that just works in our favor because I just walk in one day and, Coach G is just telling me like, hey, this guy's going to be special. I'm like, where did he come from? Like, I'm like, I've never seen him before, but he was just doing his thing. And Alex, We definitely were close because he made probably, as far as development wise, he probably made the biggest jump out of everybody because he came in just as a shooter.
Lawrence Todman, obviously he's important to bring Karan in, but he also was pretty effective. He played huge in that title game for you.
Yes. His story is probably one of my favorite just because, he didn't finish off his first year playing, and he really understood that, I need to work hard. I need to do whatever I got to do in school to make sure I'm good to play the second year. And he put in a lot of work to be able to become eligible and to be able to play, and at first he wasn't looked at to get playing time. I was there pumping him up like, yo, Lawrence is going to do it, play Lawrence. And it was like, we'll see how it goes. And I forgot what game it was, but I remember he went down and caught a chase down block. Now, mind you, Lawrence is probably only like 6 feet, and he caught the chase down block on somebody who was like 6'4". Ever since then, I think he played almost 39 to 40 minutes a game just because of his defense. And he worked so hard to get to that point. He was definitely special in all the tournament games, without a doubt. In every aspect, he was almost a triple-double machine. He was very close to some triple-doubles, so he was definitely getting some double-doubles. He was definitely vital for us to win that chip that year.
You continue to mention to me here about that championship game. I'll give you someone who went somewhat bananas in that game. I mean, we know what Karan could do. He put up 20-plus points, a quiet-type performance for him, but Victor Kovacevic really was great in that game against Kingsborough, and he just lit it up first half. Against 17 of his 21 were in that first half. Listen, Karan, you knew who he was. You needed that second piece to really knock off Kingsborough, but he got off to a hot start. So did your team. And it's funny because, Anthony McLean said the guy was just in the zone, quiet. And by the time he was lighting it up there, he got to about 26-18. He was saying, I want to eat what this guy's eating. Just talk about Victor's performance.
Whenever Victor's not talking, it's probably a good sign because he does talk, Victor can't talk. But whenever you see that face on Victor's, what I mean? When he walks in, that, all right, he's ready. He's ready to come and play today. And, that game, we definitely needed him because, all the attention was on Q because Q, was lighting it up the whole year. So everybody thought it was only going to be Q. And then Victor stepped up, did what he could. And as I recall, Ant hit a big shot, a real big shot towards the end of that game. And I remember, too, right before he hit that shot, I called out Ant from the bench, and I just pointed to my wrist like, come on, it's time. And Ant was just like, okay. He went down, and he hit that big three. That was special for us. Victor held it down for us. He definitely made sure we stood in it and definitely, brought us that win. But Ant did what he usually does and, sealed the win, the clutch, Mr. Clutch.
2 big shots to really put that game away, and one of them of which he will have that famous finish with the 3 like this. You can see it. And I wish the camera would have stayed on it long enough. But at the end of that game, unbelievable reactions. I mean, really, Anthony, Victor, you really could see in that screen, Anthony really heartbeat of that team. There's the moment with you and him, and moment with him and Coach G. All I have to say is just watching all those shots, your reaction to winning the championship. First time since 2015, the year after you had left. Talk about what those reactions felt like, sense of joy, or is that just really how close the team is together?
It was really a combination, of a few things. Definitely because of the prior year, because we lost in the championship, the year prior to that. And definitely because we were just real close. We just grew, a really tight bond throughout that year. And as far as, Ant and myself go, my mom was sick in the hospital before that game, and she just so happened to get out the hospital, and she was able to make that game. And Ant had told me, like, yo, bro, we're going to win this game for you and for your moms. Like, I got you. Like, don't worry. So I'm like, all right, cool. But, players always say that, but, it's cool. But that's when I really saw how strong he was, because he went and won that game. So then after that, we just hugged. We hugged tight. And, we definitely shed some tears just because, that really meant a lot to me that, somebody can really think about somebody that he's not related to and he hasn't even met and really keep, that person in his mind that whole time during playing the game and get the win. It definitely was emotional, for so many other reasons too. I've seen some of the pictures that my lady took, Janaea got us visuals, just to put that out there. I've seen certain pictures, me yelling in certain pictures, like in everybody's face, just because I'm excited because I never got the chance to win it as a player. Just like we spoke about before, I missed out a year before, right before winning that championship. So I know me, selfishly, I was excited. But it was just a joy to see all the players really get something when a lot of them were overlooked a lot during their high school years and overlooked by colleges. So it was definitely a special year for sure.
Here on episode 12 of Inside the Lair with BMCC former basketball assistant Mike Hussein, who played at BMCC 2012, 2013, 2013, 2014. Let's go now to the following season, which clearly the team didn't miss a beat. You come out of the gate just rolling, and you get up to number 2 in the country, 20-win season. You win the conference championship, getting to that in a sec. 14 straight wins. Nassau was the only team that really knocked you off in game number 15. I know you shake your head, and it's tough. It just seemed like the cake was baked because, yes, you lose some major role players. You lose Mark Morgan, don't have Anthony McLean, and you come in and Raybon Fleming, Carran's himself, Alex Humphreys. You said really evolved as a player, but some other big guys helped you too. In addition to Victor Kovacevic, also part of that team. Sean Adams, one of the all-stars that you have on that squad. Why did this team come out to such a hot start?
From that previous year, we just set the foundation as far as what we want from, each and every guy. So when the recruits came in, they just knew that, all right, this is the standard that we have, and we know that we could be one of the best teams in the country. We weren't pre-ranked, anything like that to be the best team in the country, but we just knew. We just knew with the talent that we had, not too many teams could even keep up with us. Offensively, for sure, we had too many weapons. We definitely carried over that culture that definitely helped us stay strong, and G being as great as he is, he definitely knew where to put each and every person. I never seen anything like it, because there was so many plays where if it didn't work, it's because they didn't run it right. That's how it was. And I can honestly say that because his plays were just amazing. Because when they did run right, Q was open, I don't know how many times. Alex was open how many times. Victor just being the point forward that he is. Because he came in, swearing that he was a point guard. And he definitely showed it the second year, that he has some type of capability. And Ashawn, Ashawn, again, that's like, my little brother. To this day too, he was definitely a force to be reckoned with, dunking on multiple people, a game. And I don't know why people still jumped, but he, whatever. That's what he did. Get his blocks and dunk on people. I would yell at him to shoot his jump shots, a little bit more, but that's all right. Alex made the biggest jump from being just a shooter to being a full out, just wing combo guard. To the point where he can handle through the press and everything. Now, Alex was a guy I had to yell at a little bit too, just so he could be confident in himself to actually do it. Because when you learn something new like that, you sort of get a little scary. And I'm like, if you don't play scared, if you play scared, Coach G is going to be scared. So stop playing scared. So he was like, all right. And then that's when he starts getting 30 points, 25, saving us, in some games. These guys were, always were a pain. But, I love them.
Let's talk about this title game because the first year you were all over Kingsborough. Victor Kovacevic told me it didn't seem like Kingsborough wanted to be there. Hostos was hungry. They jump out and really kind of punch you in the mouth. They lead at halftime 49-44. You end up scoring 60 second half points, outscored them 60-41. And then on top of this, Dublin was huge for you guys. Changed the game when you were down 64-56, 17-4 run to lead 73-68. Karan, of course, contributing 12 of those 17 points. And all I look at as that rally, 104-90 to a championship, again, back-to-back, is just experience. You were not frazzled despite how well Hostos played, and they did play a good one.
Hostos definitely put some fear in my heart, early in that game. Because I'm like, dang, like the way they were just aggressive and, they were just playing together. Nobody on their squad seemed selfish at all. And that's, as a coach on the other team, you sort of want to see them go through it a little bit. So it makes your job easier. But, they were sticking together and going at us, But I definitely credit Alex in that first half because, Q scored a little bit in the first half, but they were all locked in on Q because, back-to-back player of the year. But Alex really stepped up, big time, when we really needed him. So he definitely hit a big three. He had some big moves, big floaters. And come that second half, Q just showed why he's the most efficient player in BMCC history. It looked like art. I could really watch that second half in slow motion as far as Q. Just the fadeaway shots, just mechanically how well he looked, it didn't look bad. It just looked pretty, and it just looked like every shot he put up was going to drop. And man, everybody definitely played a part because Ray Bond, you can't drive near Ray Bond because he's going to get a charge. He's going to catch a charge. And he took pride in that. Like, coach, let me in there so I could, get a charge. He would get like 4 charges a game. There's not many players who want to sit there getting hit, while guys are driving to the baskets. Ray Bond was definitely a huge, part of that. And even Ashawn was dealing with some knee issues during that championship game, and he did what he could, but Q did what he usually did, just being the efficient Q. We definitely used to joke around with Q and call him Karan Bryant, because he definitely had that Kobe approach, that real mama mentality to his game. So it definitely showed.
Yeah, 1,000 shots he used to shoot in the gym. You're the third person to attest to that because Victor Kovacevic and Anthony said so. So, yeah, that's the case, right? 1,000 shots. Wow.
I had to rebound for some of them. After a while, I said, Q, you're shooting too many shots now. I might have to pick somebody else to rebound for you.
You also made that whole hour trip from Staten Island, Victor Kovacevic told me. So not only that, you're commuting, but that has to be fun. I mean, really, you were a guy that a lot of them really said kept that gym open. That's why I see the team being so successful. But really, it starts with dedication to the coaches. I mean, while Coach G could put the chess pieces in play better than ever, as you just told me, it's about your assistants and what they could do behind the scenes. You were a real key focal point of that. Anthony told me that. And Victor told me that. Your dedication to practice, you used to come over from Staten Island, you used to keep that gym open almost an hour early, and then the relationships you've had off the court with both those guys, texting them if they ever needed something.
I see basketball as a different language to really help guys just succeed in life, regardless if they want to be a professional or not. All the conversations really that, I've had with, guys like Ant, carry over to what he's doing now. He's no longer playing basketball, but he has his own business. He's doing a lot of positive things, for the community and whatnot. And all of that carries over from basketball. I definitely made sure I took the time to really get in there early to not only, work on our games, because I know that's what it took as far as to be, one of the best players in the country, but to also understand that we have that time to talk and we have that time to be in there instead of lollygagging and instead of, just getting into trouble. It's important for us to really stay focused and stay in the gym. That was the perfect time to talk about life. There'll be times where we may get in one drill and then we just get caught up talking about life because, that's just what was the vibe right there. That's what really grew that, that brotherhood. I still talk to Victor too. I just spoke to him last week, just about how he's doing in college and whatnot. And, I think that's really important. We got to check on these players after we coach them because it's not just, they're not just toys. They're not just robots. They're human beings. We spend a lot of time with them, with all these players. So we got to, keep it within the family, because we are a family. We spend more time with these guys than our own personal blood family. And it's just the truth. So I really cherish those relationships with those guys. And all that extra time, despite me having to travel an hour and a half, really, let me just say, an hour is pretty modest. Hour and a half, it really took. To really get there. It was fun, like you said, it was fun because I knew the bigger purpose of it all.
This has been episode 12 of Inside the Lair with former BMCC men's basketball assistant and former Panther basketball player from 2012-2013 to 2013-2014, Mike Hussein. Mike, thank you for taking some time from your vacation in Florida. Go enjoy the sun. For joining us means a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate this time. I've definitely been watching and, I'm grateful.